the biggest monster of all of San Diego to me was the grading, like fog, right? There was this cloud over San Diego. Like everybody's going, did you see the PSA, things? CGC was there, and there was, some scandal going on while we were there. They're all talking about all those CGC things that have already happened. You had a question with the guy in Texas. What's the guy's name?
Richard, the dealer.
Yes.
You're talking about him? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his comment just blew me away, bro. But it blew me away because there's more than just him that are, expressing their concern about PSA and how they're going to do things in their new grader. And that's very eye-opening.
It's very interesting because, I met Mark Wilson, who is the head grader at PSA. And, the PSA had a little get-together, a little dinner thing, and they invited some people, and I got to go. And so I had a great conversation with him, and he seemed like a really good guy and wanted to do well, with the company. But I don't know any of the history with him. He's somebody who's been in it for so long. He's definitely before my time. But in talking to a lot of the dealers, wanting to get their insights on what they thought about PSA, I went up, I do the kind of the usual video I do where I'll just interview the people. And so, out of courtesy, I'll usually let the dealers know before I film, I'm thinking about asking you this, and then, this, just so they can wrap their head around what we're going to talk about. And I gotta be honest, with maybe half of the people that I went up to and I said, I want to ask you about PSA and what you think about, their product and the thing and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of them gave that look of that grader, that thing. And it was interesting to me because, there's a lot of baggage in that look, and I don't know what it is. And I don't know if it's is this warranted, or is this just sort of you guys had personal issues from back in the day, and so it's really hard to say. I don't know if there's a unicorn candidate that they would hire that everyone in the community would be we're so happy. I mean, even if they got Matt Nelson to go to PSA, I mean, that would come with baggage too. There's no one who has a perfect record. But all that being said, when I talked to Richard, I was surprised with how candid he was about it. And I think my face was a little bit like this when I was talking to him recording, and I was like, wow, I mean, we're going to put this out there, and you're definitely going to let it be known. And actually, a couple of the other PSA were curious to, maybe squash that or talk to him about it. And so I don't know what kind of conversations were had and stuff, but I thought that was pretty interesting how people felt so passionate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are retailers that you're going to probably be working with, or wanting to work with at least, if somebody's got a table at San Diego, there's somebody if I'm PSA, I'm going to want to, send me your books. If you're going to show off my books at big cons and go around the country, send me your books. Let's work out a deal. But the same things that you're talking about are the same things that I've heard, people, when people were first trying to find out who the grader was. And, I had some friends that would say, hey, we're hearing it's this guy, and I don't know who he is. I'm like you. I don't have the history and industry stuff. So I'm, asking, well, what do you think about him? And for the majority of the people either said, well, I don't really know him, but the people that did know him were a little, kind of hesitant of, I don't know if this is a good idea, but we'll see. Or, we're just straight up, I don't like the choice. Not that I don't like him, but I don't like the choice, basically.
What's interesting?
They were candid.
And what's interesting? Maybe you'll know this more. It's funny how the head grader has become a thing in comic books compared to, as far as I understand it. And again, I'm not a card expert. I think you're going to know better than I. Does anyone know the head sports card grader at PSA? Are they a public figure? Are they?
I imagine they are, but it's not something you hear about a lot. And I monitor a lot of that content.
Yeah. I don't think that it is. I don't think, and maybe that's for the better, right? Because it's almost too much weight to put onto an individual face. Like
Yeah.
Matt Nelson, I feel like, has to absorb so much of, like, whatever CGC stuff is going on. But at the end of the day, like, he's just, I mean, he's the president. So yes, he's sort of the public face of the company. But at the same time, like, so many times when CGC does something bad, like if, recently they're kind of had this bend situation that's going on. That's like a quality control thing that I don't know if he has any hand in that aspect of the company. But I almost just sort of wonder in these grading things, like, should there be a head grader that is so public facing?
I think you're right. I think that if I was PSA, I wouldn't want that information to get out there. If I was to set up my, grading company, I think that I would rather just have a PR representative, right?
Yeah.
The person that's going to go on shows like this, the person that's going to go to cons and talk at cons, the person that's going to tell, his little team of social media people, hey, put this out. I want this out. I want this out. I want to talk about this. People that contact him, he sets up, hey, I'll come on your show. If I can't, I'm going to have somebody that will come on your show, that type of thing. And you don't talk about who the graders are at all. Yeah, 100%. There's no reason to. And every time I walked by CGC's booth, Matt was there holding court and was busy. So you could tell, you know what I mean? Like, you're right. That's a lot of, I'm not gonna say pressure, but it's a lot of work that you have to go through, because basically that's what he is at this point, right? He's their PR guy.
Yeah. And, and as you say it, I do think, like, oh, well, that would be kind of sad, right? If we had to live in a world where you didn't get to have these sort of interactions with these people, or there wasn't that kind of transparency of, like, oh, here's who the head grader and stuff. But, I guess it's like, this is why we can't have nice things, because, there's just, it's going to lead to issues in a lot of ways. And so I don't know if it's like good or bad,
Let's be honest. When it comes to, there's money involved in this, a lot of this, a lot of these people have worked together for many years. And when that happens, and there's always like that, underlying drama that's out there, no matter what. It's the way humans are, especially when there's money involved too. So you're going to hear
100%. Do you think that, two questions here with PSA and CGC, before we kind of put a bow on that, do you think PSA has a chance to really make a splash in the market? And then two, I don't know if it's just, the loudest voices on social media with CGC. Anytime I make a CGC video, we're going to see it in the comments, right? Grading is a scam. It's going to be heavily upvoted, all that stuff. And I understand where that feeling is coming from. But at the same time, like, you go to San Diego Comic-Con, like you said, the booth is packed. There are so many people that are grading their books. Anyways, I say that to kind of ask you, do you think that CGC can sort of get back to a place where there's just trust once again in the company, and, like, people have kind of a non-cynical outlook towards them as a company?
Not anymore. Not after. And this is why, well, I shouldn't say not absolute. I say, yeah, there's a chance. I think they would have to do some major transparency moves. You know what I mean? Like, be like, hey, what do you guys want to know? We want to be open as a company. We're going to gain that trust back. But there's been so many little hits, right? The newsstand switcheroos, with the Mark Jewelers, the cases that they've won or lost. The one that they lost, that's a big deal, because that's kind of, when you look at that whole thing, it's kind of cheesy how it was handled, and for that to come out in court is a big deal, because then you can't say, well, this didn't happen. Well, it happened because we found out, because they went through court over it, and this is what they went through discovery. This are the things that they found. It doesn't look good for them. But here's the other thing. I'm starting to hear more and more from more and more people, and it's just starting. It's been like 2 or 3 months now, of people saying that graded books aren't selling for them like they normally do. And there's this weird flip that's kind of happening, and with that happening at the same time as there being this little bit of distrust, if CGC books start selling for less, they lose all their power. All their power is based on the secondary market. If they start selling, if there's a drop in popularity for graded books and it's harder and harder to sell them, maybe PSA has a chance to jump in there and take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if CGC would have been transparent and would have had some type of PR person, you know, a few months, maybe a year ago, you know, that kind of came in and quieted everything down, made some better choices on like the little videos that they put out, I think there could have been they could have just, you know, taken their dominance back in a big way. Right now, the only reason that they have that quote unquote dominance is because they're the sales on the secondary market. You know, that's a monster.
Just for the sake of it, if I'm gonna like steel man like the pro CGC position, and people will call me, you know, swaggle shill right now, but like what if CGC came out and just said, guys, we just fucked up. We're sorry. We're just trying to create a product and grade your books, and we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to make mistakes, but we always, at the end of the day, want to do it right. Like, would that have been enough? Or do you think that, like, here's where I'm going with this. And again, I'm trying to steel man like the other side of it. Doesn't CGC just put a number on a book, and whatever the buyers and sellers do with that number, whatever they pay for it, whether they overpay or they underpay or whatever, like that's kind of up to them, right? Like, are they just this kind of neutral body, or do you think that they put their fingers too much into like the culture and kind of like overstepped? What's your feeling on that?
I don't think they put their fingers enough into the culture. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like their social media influence is lacking in a big way. I mean, they've just kind of started getting into that, and some of the things they put out were questionable, you know, like it was kind of laughable.
Yeah.
But at least they're trying. But here's the biggest problem. There's so many inconsistencies in their grading, you know. I know guys that are just sending $25 lots, you know, every day, every couple days, and they'll get some back that are consistent and some that are way off, some back that are consistent, some that are way off. And then, you know, we start hearing about this issue with the spine ticks, and, you know, being able to get into those things so easily with the Mark Jewelers was an issue. Maybe they changed how they spot weld those cases, and now there's too much pressure in there, and it's causing the book to bend in you know, what the little vacuum seal it's in. There's something going on there that's causing a major worry for people out there. And once that starts happening, you're kind of screwed. They need to come out and they need to say, okay, here is what do we need to do? You know, get some people together, get some ideas, say, we're going to be very transparent with our grading process. This is what it means if you have these on here, and they need to be more consistent about it. Because, you know, when 99 Newsstand and Dave Vengers, you know, did their thing, and the question got asked, like, how come there's not a 99 UF4 and there's so many thousands graded? And on top of that, there was also talk about, oh, even a 99 could have a spine tick, or whatever he said. You know, it's like, you know, hold on here. And then you get books back that are perfect, and you're going, there's no way this is a 9.8 all day. There's people that know how to grade books. There's pressers that press books and send in so many books that you can send them a picture, and if it's a good enough picture, they can grade your book very well, front and back. You know, they're going to give you a great grade, and I trust those people's eyes. And when those guys are sending in books and they're saying, hey, this should be a 9.6 to 9.8, and it comes back an 8.5 or a 9.0, you're like, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. And it's happened a lot with modern product too. You know, for a while there, everybody's getting those 9.9s and their 10s, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's back to a little bit stiffer grading, and it's not consistent. It doesn't feel consistent.